Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Go check out my website at skysworld.com. I want to make a video talk about anger. We've talked about this before. Every time I talk about a topic again, when I do a second or third video on it, I like to try to attack it from a different angle. So let's get into it. Is anger a bad thing? Some people actually really believe that it is, and there's certain heavy-duty Christians that follow that. There's certain Buddhists and Zen monk, those types of people, they really believe that. There's certain pacifist cultures that really believe that. I don't believe that. I'm not going to try to tell everybody that they're wrong and I'm right. I'm just telling you what I'm about. I don't see anything wrong with anger. It's when anger gets out of control. That's when it's wrong. So let's get into that. I think there's healthy anger. You have emotions. I think all emotions are good. And the reason why I think they're good is because I'm a religious guy, and I believe in God, and I believe that God created us, and He created our emotions for a reason. We weren't given emotions to suppress them. Suppressing emotions is dangerous. I think it's healthier to look at anger as something to learn how to deal with rather than something to learn how to avoid or suppress. I think if you start subtracting programs from your system, that you could end up operating funny. Are there times that you can think of when you might need anger? Now, people that don't really understand this topic or are against me on this topic, you say no, never use anger. But let's go back to the religious aspect of it. There's the whole turn the other cheek notion that people attribute to Jesus. But Jesus did use his anger. He just didn't use it in ways that were out of control. You can be angry and still be in control. An example. In the book, I just look at it as a book. I'm not trying to preach religion to you. I'm just using an example of anger that was used in control. Jesus goes up to the table of bankers who are exchanging money and he tips it over. It's the only act of violence and of anger, I think, that we see Jesus in the entire story, that his character does in the entire story. I'm not going to get into why or to the whole symbolism behind that, but we can find examples. If that's not enough for you, you can look at Ephesians 4:26 through 27. Be angry, but do not sin. That is a huge lesson. Forget about biblical knowledge and Christianity. Just look at that. Be angry, but do not sin. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish or Muslim or an atheist. Be angry, but do not sin. So there are times when anger is okay. When you are going to go and protect your family, your wife and your daughter, from some sort of invasion or attack. Hope that's never happened to you, but if that scenario came up, it would be your anger that got you motivated, that made you stand up and grab your weapon and stand in front of your two loved ones in front of that danger and say, you go through me, I'll kill you. You don't touch them. That's your anger. You're not in some joyous, happy, well, think of all your emotions. Which one do you think that you're experiencing in that moment? That's what got you up. That's a sign of a good man who can use his anger to motivate himself towards protecting. Think about the hunt. There's an aggression that happens in the hunt if you've ever killed an animal. In the moment of killing it, in that exact moment, it's not an anger, I hate you anger. There's all different types of angers and different levels of it. This is, I'm going to feed my family at any cost, anger. This is, I am not a sheep, I'm a wolf, and these woods are mine, kind of anger. There's other kinds of anger that we can think of that are very righteous. Be angry but do not sin means that it's a righteous anger. It's not revenge. It's good versus evil. The battle of good versus evil is a righteous anger. I posted a picture on my social media across a couple different platforms of my grandfather wearing one of the very first Sinister Cycles, but we're now Sinister City. People wonder why we changed the name. It was a lawsuit. We changed it. We had to change it. We started off Sinister Cycles. Do your research. You can start a business. I didn't do my research, and I used somebody else's name. That's another video. I talk about that in a whole other video. But he's wearing one of our first shirts. He's 99 years old. He's still kicking. I'm not going to say he's perfectly healthy at 99, but he's all right. He's doing good. He fought in World War II. He killed Nazis. If not for people like him, we'd all be speaking German. And why did his entire generation, see, you should do some history if you don't know, his generation, they quit their jobs, they quit their school, they dropped what they were doing, they were on the altar, or maybe they just got done getting married. They just got married, like my grandfather. He had just married his high school sweetheart. He didn't have any other girlfriends. He married the one girl he ever loved, that was my grandmother, and then he runs off to war. Well, sorry babe, I'm gonna go kill some Nazis. It wasn't the women pushing the men out the door saying, you guys got to go do this and protect us. Oh no. It was men grabbing their weapons, grabbing their backpacks and whatever they had to go to these recruiting offices and saying, we want to fight. We're going to go and show the Japanese and the Germans, a lesson. And boy, did we. What did we drop? 2 bombs, I think, on the Japanese, or 3? We could have just dropped 1. Nuclear bombs. Name another country that's ever dropped a nuclear bomb. Name one. Name any other country that's ever actually pushed that button. We pushed it twice. Take that. Out another one. Although I think we dropped them out of planes. Somebody else can tell me how we actually delivered that weapon on the Japanese. If I remember right, I think we dropped them out of planes. I don't know. I don't think they were ICBMs. Nonetheless, that World War II, I think, is a perfect example of good against evil, of anger rising up against evil. Now, the battle of good against evil is a battle of control. It's a battle of people who are in control of their anger and directing it in a righteous way to defend good, versus people who aren't in control of their anger and are going out of control. They're using their anger for evil. Anytime that you're out of control, you are in a dangerous realm. You can hurt others. You hurt yourself. You get into a self-destructive, a fuck the world mentality. I'll destroy everything if I don't get my way mentality. You become a dictator, a psychopath. So I think that the battle of good against evil is the battle of men who are in control of their anger versus men who aren't in control of their anger. But see, we have this inner battle. There's an external battle of good versus evil. And you could point to a whole bunch of different scenarios. I could probably go on for another 8 minutes on just different scenarios where you have to use your anger in a righteous, good way to stand up, physically stand up against evil. With the whole child molestation thing, we have to stand up, physically stand up. Some ad campaign isn't going to do it. But there's the internal battle. You have both. You have the external battle of good and evil and an internal battle of good against evil. And people who are only fighting on one front always lose that war. You have to fight on both fronts. So there's a good quote by a guy that I learned about not too long ago. He seems to have a lot of good quotes. I like quotes. This guy, St. John Bosco. I used to know a skinhead named Bosco, and he had Bosco tattooed on his neck, real big letters. St. John Bosco said, "The power of evil men lives on the cowardice of the good." Let me read that again. I think it's worth reading again. The power of evil men lives on the cowardice of the good. What's going to save the world? A bunch of good, angry men. Food for thought.